hello, and welcome. My name is Coach Lisa, and I am the founder of the Women's Emotional Eating Community Support Group. I also have an amazing program called Crush That Food Thing Self-Discovery System, where I help women to identify their invisible emotional relationship with food through taking a journey of self-discovery. So today, I want to know from you, do you tell yourself that eating is your happy place? If you have said these words before, I want to challenge you today to stop right now, because if you're telling yourself this, you are standing in your own way. So we're talking all about happiness, and a lot of times we can say things that are mismatched from what we really want. And so when we tell ourselves that food takes us to our happy place, it sounds really good on paper, and yet at the same time, is that what you want? Do you want it to be like filling up a gas tank where it's like, oh, okay, I'm running on empty and now I need more fuel to drive this vehicle here, to drive my car, and so now I've got to get some more food. So do you want that? Do you want to have food be your happiness, and like in between eating, then like unhappy, 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 oh, eating, happy, I get to fill up again. Unhappy, 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 oh, happy, I get to fill up again. And so do you want to tell yourself that? Because if you do want to tell yourself that, that is exactly what you're going to get. And so we want to talk about this today, because sometimes you can be the one thing standing in your own way, and you're telling yourself something that really sounds good, right? When you were a little kid, it was like, ooh, I got a cookie. Ooh, I got an Easter basket. Ooh, I got, I don't know, a birthday party, right? And so these food memories that we've created over decades and decades of time have been built into our system, right? And so they trigger our happiness. And yet at the same time, most of us now at this stage of our lives, like, it's no longer a child's, excitement that is in our lives, right? And so we don't want to have our only happiness be food, and yet here we are, right? This group is the Women's Emotional Eating Community Support Group. So it's clear to say that for some of you, or for most of you, that food is what brings you happiness. And so that's why I felt like it was so important to talk about this today, because if you're telling yourself this, you are going to have to stop. Happiness is not a destination. Happiness is not a goal. It's not something, it's like, I'll be happy when, like, ooh, if I get to go home and eat that leftover cheesecake in the refrigerator, like, then I'm going to be happy. Or even to think about your happiness as going on a diet, right? Like, I'll be happy when I lose 50 pounds. And so we want to be able to get food like out of the picture of having any, and I mean any, attachment to how we feel. Period. End of story. Whether the feeling is happiness or sadness or anger or hurt or whatever, it doesn't matter. Food is food. Feelings are feelings. When we're mixing the two, or we're telling ourselves that the only way that we're going to be happy is if we eat that cheesecake, that's wrong. It's just not true. And if you're telling yourself that, you're actually blocking your happiness. So even though you might think that the food is taking you to that happiness, you're telling yourself a story that is just not true. And I urge you to stop. And I know that that sounds easier said than done, and yet in the same breath, it's really not. It's not hard to stop telling yourself something. It's really not. Your mind is malleable. You are free to choose what you think. Now, sometimes you might say to yourself, that's crazy, Lisa. Like, I'm not free to choose what I think. My mind is bopping around all day long. And I will challenge you on that. You are free to change what you think. Write this down. I do not have to believe everything that I think. If there is a thought that is running through your mind that is causing havoc, that you are a slave to, that you are literally trapped in a prison where the only way that you can possibly be happy is if you eat, right? Food takes me to my happy place. If you're telling yourself that, well, guess what? That's what you're going to get. But in between fill-ups, just know that there's going to be a flip side of that coin. And when you're in the flip side of that coin, you will not be happy. And so basically, if you are slathering on your joy block and you're doing that, but you're not recognizing it because it sounds so good. Ooh, yummy cookies, great cake, awesome chips. I can't wait to crunch on them. Like if you're telling yourself that that is going to make you happy, you are incorrect and you are allowed to change the thought. And so I want to be able to bring this to your attention because if I don't, then I'm not helping you change. I'm just agreeing with you and saying, hey, you're right. Food makes me happy. You know what? Food actually has an element of joy in it. It really does. When I eat something that's, bringing me like health to my body, actually, that feels pretty darn good. But at the same time, I'm not telling myself that that is the only way that I can feel happy. It's because I am happy that I want to eat foods that support my best interest. See, if you're telling yourself that food makes you happy, you're blocking your ability to be happy now with yourself, regardless of if you lose the 50 pounds, regardless of if you, I don't know, like feel like you're not going to get that like little slice of like crunching on the chip every day. And that feels like it's like, well, that's my lifeline, Lisa. I have to have that. Actually, you don't. You have to tell yourself that that thought is actually meant to keep you stuck. And if you tell yourself that that thought is meant to keep you stuck, you just might be able to tell yourself something else. So that way you have the freedom to choose the next thought. You're free to choose whatever you want. Now notice, I am being very, very conscientious of not using the word control. There's a difference. And so a lot of times we might think like, well, I can control what I think. No, you don't want to control anything. You actually want to set yourself free. So when I first start working with women, a lot of times they will come into this process and they will be like, I have to have this every day. So this is a message from my client today. She just sent me this. It was so awesome. Now, this gal's been working on self-discovery because that's what we do. We discover new things about yourself. And so, like I said, if you've got some old sayings, if you've got some old thoughts just rummaging through your head because that's what you've always had, well, it's fair to say that that's the reason why you have those thoughts. However, if you're continuing to get really, really, really good at doing the wrong thing for yourself, then you will be an expert at doing the wrong thing for yourself. And it's nobody's business but yours. So if you're doing that and you're like a pro at self-sabotage, you're a pro at being your worst enemy, you're a pro at hurting yourself, you're a pro at, disappointing yourself or setting yourself up for failure. If you're a pro at that, then you'll continue to get better and better at that until you choose to change it. And as you choose to change it, yeah, you will have to wrestle with yourself a little bit. And yet at the same time, you're worth the effort, aren't you? I mean, this is the interesting part is sometimes we say, well, I can't do that. Like I've been stuck here for so long. So what? You're still alive and you're living and breathing. So what makes the difference between you choosing to change a thought that you've had for a long time? It's like, do you want to keep getting better at doing something that's meant to hurt you? Or do you want to choose to change? The choice is yours. I mean, it's not anybody else's, right? Nobody else is living inside of your body. Nobody else is feeling your thoughts. And nobody else is feeling what your body feels like when you're in this place where the thing that comes to your mind that is reserved for happiness is just food. That's not okay. So let me just read you this message. So this gal writes to me today. I'm so excited about this. She said, sitting at my work desk, looking at the food that I brought for lunch. After I heated it up, I was in a huge hurry to get to my desk and eat it. I suddenly stopped and just looked at my food. I started wondering, why was I so excited and interested in it? They're just leftovers. The excitement over eating dissipated, and I just felt tired and bored with it. I was no longer excited about the food. What did I just experience? This is the first time this has happened. I usually shovel it into my mouth and have eaten it without even noticing. And so it's interesting because this particular gal has been working really, really hard at figuring herself out. And later we texted back and forth and she said, I don't want to lose this awareness. And I said, tell yourself what you do want, not what you don't want. And she said, I want to keep this awareness. And I said, you have the ability and are free to do whatever you want, to think whatever you want. That's because you love yourself and like yourself now, right where you're at. And so this is where this whole thought of, like eating makes me happy kind of thing. Like eating is not a destination. Like you're not, like happiness is not a destination. You're not going to like do something that's going to make you happy. You are happy. And therefore, you want to do good things for yourself. And I'm assuming that the things, when you're telling yourself, like, eating makes me happy, I'm just assuming now that that is going to be where you're, shoveling, stuffing, hiding all the garbage foods, right? And so you want to be able to push this thought aside, and you want to be able to ask yourself, like, is that thought that, like, eating makes me happy, is that, like, spiritually based? Like, does that feed you from the inside out? Does that connect you with yourself on a deeper level? Or perhaps is that thought more ego-based? So I don't know if you know anything about the spiritual self or the ego, and this is not religion in any way, shape, or form, and it's also not like hokey pokey, like woo, voodoo stuff. It's just two different levels of awareness in your mindset, right? And so we have different levels of awareness. We know that there is a conscious mind within us, and there's also a subconscious mind within us. And that ego side, and I'll just give a little hints of things that we learn in Crush That Food Thing, the ego consistently seeks happiness outside of yourself, right? Because inside of yourself is where you're connecting with yourself on a deeper level. Well, the ego seeks happiness outside. And so anytime that you say, I'll be happy when, or anything where it's outside of yourself, like makes you happy, that's always your ego talking. And so telling yourself that eating is your happy place gives you a reason to kind of believe that story. And what it does is it limits your ability to be able to feel happiness from the inside out now, and then to make your choices based off of you already feeling happy. So the ego is insatiable. The ego's path for you is to endlessly seek happiness outside of yourself, which will result in an endless cycle of wanting. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, oh, if you tell yourself that eating is bringing you to your happy place, so then you'll eat, and it's kind of like fueling up your gas tank, right? And then in between, you're like, oh, getting empty, getting empty, getting empty. Oh, next window of opportunity to fill up my happiness gas tank with the food. And we know that that comes with those peaks and valleys and the mood swings and the energy dips and all that stuff. So you don't want to fuel that. You just don't. So these are a couple of things that you can do. Ask yourself, and you can write this down, is telling myself that eating is my happy place blocking my ability to be happy without eating? So that's a great question. Just answer it yes or no. There's nothing confusing about this. It's a yes or no question. Is telling myself that eating is my happy place blocking my ability to be happy without eating? Yes or no, period. 2, is telling myself that eating is my happy place something that I want to feel more of? Like, do I want to get better at that? Because if you do, keep going, have at it. It's not a problem. It's just that if that's what you want, great, you're becoming a professional at it. If it's not what you want, though, I urge you to change the thoughts. 3, if a thought in your head is not serving your best interest, you are allowed to change that thought. So this is what we talked about before. So kind of like ask yourself questions number 1, questions number 2, and then ask yourself, well, hang on a minute. Is this something I want to get better at? Do I want to only feel happy when I'm eating? Probably not. So ask yourself, is this thought meant to help me grow, or is this thought meant to keep me stuck? Number 4, if I didn't have to think about that thought, what could I think instead? Right? So if you're telling yourself, like, eating makes me happy, eating makes me happy, eating makes me happy. Like, what could you think instead? For this gal today that shared with me, you know, that she was like, I looked at the food and was like, wait a minute, this isn't what I usually think. I usually am like so excited. And today I looked at the food and was like, oh, why was I so excited? I'll give you a little quote that I love. Life is made up of vital moments that seem, actually, let me start that again. Life is made up of moments that seem vital and important one moment and silly and absurd the next. So something that she had convinced herself was so exciting, like, oh, I'm going to get to my desk and I'm going to eat all the food. Then she suddenly was like, oh, this isn't making me happy, right? This isn't, like, what am I doing? It's just leftovers. Like, why am I so excited about it? And so because she's now able to push that aside, now she'll be able to think a new thought. If she kept thinking the old thought that the food was making her happy or it was so exciting, she'd have no room for new thoughts. If you have too much in your mind, you won't be able to pick up a new thought. You have to actually put down an old one. So if you're telling yourself that food brings you to your happy place, that's it, food is making you happy, please take the thought away from your head. You don't even have to replace it with anything yet. Just admit that that thought is keeping you stuck. Take it away and then see what else comes up. And the last thing is, don't be the one thing that's standing in your own way. If you are standing in your own way, if you are convinced that food is bringing you to a happy place, that is where you will stay, that is what you will get, and that is all you will ever get. And so if you want to change it, if you don't know why, doesn't matter, just decide that it's something that you want to change, and then you can make new room for new opportunities. Okay. That's all I have for today. If you are wanting to work with me, you want to get a little more information, there will be a link here to fill out to see if we want to take a free call together and see if we can work together. All right, onward and upward to a positive day. Bye for now.